participants joined in as well. Great. So I think good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. To the panelists, to the participants, and to everyone. So my name is Rajeeb. I'm with ClickTrust, and once again, welcome to the webinar, which is bridging promoter instinct and data science to build a real estate brand. So this is a topic for everybody. This is a topic that sits right at the intersection of intuition, experience, and modern data-driven decision making. So for decades, real estate success has been driven by strong promoter instinct, right? Like market understanding, gut feel, relationships, and timings, and so on. But today, with increasing competition and rising acquisition cost and growing concerns around lead quality, marketing efficiency, data science has equally become critical. Yeah. So in this session, we will explore how leading organizations are combining these two worlds, human intuition and data intelligence. Yeah. So let me introduce our fantastic panel of speakers. Firstly, we have Mr. CJ Mathews. He's a marketing leader with deep experience in brand building, PR, and growth strategy. He brings a strong perspective on how brand building and on ground realities intersect with evolving digital trends. Next, we have Mr. Rachit Bansal, who has extensive experience in scaling real estate businesses through performance marketing and data-led strategies. So Rachit will share insights on how data can directly influence campaign outcomes and customer acquisition efficiencies. And finally, we have Mr. Rajeeb Dash, who brings a sharp understanding of digital transformation and analytics in the real estate space. His experience bridges operational execution with data intelligence, so making his perspective especially valuable for today's session. And of course, our moderator for today is Manish, who's the Director of Business Development at ClickTrust. So we'll keep the session interactive, and so feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We will address them during the Q&A towards the end. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you so much, Ranjit, for setting the stage. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm Manish, and I am really glad to be moderating this conversation today with all of you. Getting started, as Ranjit also mentioned, that the Indian real estate market is undergoing a massive transformation. For a long time, the project sales were, heavily dependent on developer intuition, gut feeling, and massive offline holdings. But today's buyer are, research heavy, they are digital savvy, and they are looking for real transparency. As marketing leaders, we are constantly trying to strike that balance between a traditional promoter instinct and the modern data science. So our topic today, bridging promoter instinct and data science to build real estate brand, it hits right at the core of this shift. And to unpack this, we couldn't have asked for a better panel. Rachit, Rajeeb, and CJ, gentlemen, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to share your playbooks with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'll start.
Looking forward for a great interactive discussion.
Definitely. I think I'll start the conversation at the top level, specifically regarding the CMO seat at the board table. So traditionally, real estate marketing, as was seen, as an expense department. You design brochures, you throw a grand launch event, run print ads, and then hand over those leads. But today, what we have seen is with tighter margins and the fluctuating market cycle, a CMO just cannot focus on tofu, the top of the funnel brand awareness. They're also expected to, understand the unit economics and overall project profitability. So my first question to you guys would be, where do you think that the marketing leaders usually miss this mark when it comes to understanding the actual business P&L in real estate? I think Rachit, let's start with your view on this, and probably Rajeeb and CJ can, chip in.
Perfect, Manish. So I think, like you rightly questioned, that originally it was a game of more top of the funnel, but right now it's everything coming into picture. So I would say, see, if you look at business from a holistic point of view, cost of sales is something which is of prime importance. At the end of the day, it boils down to that number, ki what is the cost of sales? And cost of sales is a function of everything coming together. What is the velocity you are bringing to the table and at what cost? What are the various verticals that you are using and the kind of money that you are going to spend across all these verticals, which eventually are going to give you that velocity. So as a marketing leader, you can't look at only in isolation that you are here to create awareness, which will generate leads and your work is done. You are here to create a surround, generate leads. If your brand has a very good recall, it is giving you an understanding that, okay, this was a very effective campaign. But eventually, a campaign, if it is not sweating the result that it was designed for, then the campaign is of no use. It can give you a feel-good factor, but eventually all of us are business leaders, and eventually business numbers or the velocity is something which is of prime importance. So I feel the most important element that each one of us as leaders today, we need to look at the profitability, we need to look at the market share, we need to look at what is the measurable impact on the revenue that we are able to bring in, how are we improving the product mix, which typology is something which is moving, how am I responsible or my campaign is responsible for influencing the entire funnel, then how am I strengthening my margins. All these things come into picture. I hope I was able to give you the answer that you were looking at. Or if there is something specific that you want to question, I can further elaborate.
I think this goes perfectly well, Rachit. Rajeeb, your take on this.
Yes, just to add on what Rachit was saying, I think it's more than top funnel or the middle funnel. I think today everybody is looking for the bottom funnel. It's purely the conversion ratio. I think that's getting measured by the team and also the management to an extent. Today, creating a hype and brand awareness is given. I think that's not been a marketing job anymore. I think marketing job, I think today is boiling down purely that what's the site visits you are doing, from site visits to sales order booking. I think that's a two. There used to be time that you used to check CL, cost per lead, CLP, cost per impressions and everything. I think that's nobody is asking now. I think it's totally boiling down to cost per site visits to start with. At least on a digital world, I have seen that everything starts with cost per site visit, and then from there your conversion ratio and your booking cost per booking. That's one thing which has changed at least in last 1 year or 2 years as compared to 5-6 years back. That's first part. Second part is that today I think the brand is created on digital space. I think that is where it's becoming the different in terms of making the right noise and conversation. I think you cannot avoid both. You have to make noise. If you are a brand, you are coming out with a new project, or you have a maximum number of inventory left out in the project, you have to make a noise. And that's where the digital medium is helping to make the noise. And that you have to choose the medium, whether it's a social media or you go through typical Meta and Google platform and do the noise creation. And there is enough, mediums to create that, and that you can do that. Second part is that once the noise is created, you have to make sure that you have been selective to choose the leads and then take it to the next level where the remarketing and the retargeting happens. And that the remarketing and retargeting is very critical purely because that helps you to increase your conversion ratio. So that is where I think today the marketers are not only creating noise, but making sure that through the noise, the leads that gets created, you take to the next level and do the remarketing and retargeting them to different communication. So that's where to do the remarketing, you need to understand the lead. And that's where the marketing team is spending more time in understanding the consumer segments and their need so that they can put a personalized message or communication depending upon the need and convert them. I think today marketing is going beyond just creating awareness and making sure that customer is understood well, the communication is personalized, and then the conversion ratio is there. I think that's the three aspects which is coming out very clearly. And the last part, I will just say that today marketing is no more direct marketing. I think today we make sure that there is a collaborative approach towards the entire ecosystem. And what is that? That is the channel partners, the partners that we have. Because today you remember the distribution is critical. You can do 30-40% of direct marketing, or it's a good brand, you can reach up to 45%. But you have to think about the entire ecosystem where you can increase your sales velocity, and from a business point of view, that that makes sense to have a proper distribution, not only through direct but through channel partner also. So the collaborative approach that's been taken today, whether it's a communication going to the channel partner along with your communication being live on digital platform, and also helping the channel partner to have the right communication, right medium selection. And the third thing, making sure that you are not competing with the channel partner on a digital space. You are not bidding for the same keywords, so that you space it out in a way that you are not there when channel partner are playing on digital space and they're bidding for the keywords. That's the third thing. All these three aspects, whether it's a communication, you need the communication going to the market, to the channel partners. Second thing is that making sure that you are on the right medium and right messaging that going through channel partner. Third, not competing but collaborating with channel partner. These three things have been done by marketing. Today it's no more only the consumer segment or direct marketing done by marketing, but it is the distribution play. Making sure that the channel partners are participating in the project and in the program is done by marketing. So that's where I think marketing space has now become wider. I think it's no more building brand and just checking your brand equity scores. It's gone beyond that, and it is more focused towards the business and the business objective.
Yeah, Rajeeb. CJ, your take on this.
First of all, Manish, thank you, and to the whole team for having us today. My 2 cents on this is that yes, the individual sitting in the boardroom with the designation of leading the marketing function has to be responsible for P&L. Just like both Rajeev and Rachit has expressed it in their own way, the function has evolved. We've moved past just being lead generators for the ecosystem. No matter how many projects you have, you've moved past that. You've evolved into creating a brand story which is relevant not just to your consumers today or consumers of yesterday and tomorrow, but your entire ecosystem, which is your B2B ecosystem, right? Which is it extends far beyond channel partners. You're also talking to all of the people, that ancillary industries that work with your firm to achieve your organizational goals from a revenue perspective. And to be able to build that entire journey for everybody involved, you do have to play a key role in taking accountability and ownership of how much you're contributing to the P&L of the product or of the entire corporate itself. It would be short-sightedness to not have that accountability or not take on that accountability, because as markets get more competitive, as each market has a larger number of options for the consumer, it's not just about shrinking margins. It's also about holding your own against the competition, right? You always have, the brand tells you the ideology of creating a brand, and the ideology of marketing tells you that you have to create your space, you have to put a differentiator to your product, etc., etc. While you're doing that, you're also looking at the entire journey that your customer goes through, how they greeted at the sales office, what do they see on the website, what do they see on the ad, all of those little things. It's a little bit of a business on its own, and that's why possibly we see a variety of firms that have made it their business in life to contribute to real estate companies who may or may not have that expertise within, larger picture of marketing a product. Having said that, and just to for the sake of repeating myself, yes, the marketing leadership of real estate companies and brands need to take on accountability for profitability. Without having a look or keeping a keen eye on profitability, you may or may not be doing the right things. It also depends largely on the maturity of your organization, the goals that your organization has put. What is the growth strategy that the whole organization needs to go through, right? Do we want to double our numbers? Are we moving from some place like we're 750 crores, we want to jump to 1500 crores? Or is the growth a little more measured? Either ways you look at it, being part of that discussion in the boardroom is very critical.
CJ,
Just to,
yes, please.
CJ touched upon one, bigger aspect. I think, and that I just want to capture that one, is that marketing team is today responsible for experience created. The experience creation at the site, the entire customer journey is so critical today. It is the differentiator, and that helps you to have the conversion ratio going up. So the entire journey of the customer, from the lead generation to the site visit and what happens at the site, the experience creation belongs to the marketing team. And that is where the differentiator can be created. And today, that ownership being there with the marketing team, marketing department, is the new thing which has happened. So the design team doesn't get into it. They may be doing the execution part, but the brief is being written by the marketing team, and making sure that the brief is implemented is also done by the marketing team. So that's it today. I think from a product point of view, real estate is selling through experience, and that has been the ownership of the marketing team.
And adding one more point, Rajeeb and CJ, I would say that players like Xanadu, our core function is marketing only, which is followed by sales. And the customer experience journey that you were talking about, I would say that eventually companies like us, when we get into a project, the idea is what is the problem that we want to solve? Number one. Number two, what is the story that I am going to create, which will strike a chord with the client? Then only I'll be able to get the velocity. So if I'm able to identify the problem, if I'm able to crack the story that I want to sell, that is when experience that Rajeev was talking about plays an amazing role, as long as I am very clear what story I want to tell to the consumer and how. That is when the brand manager, when he writes the brief, it is crystal clear what story he wants to narrate to the consumer, wherein the consumer feels associated and feels that maybe this is the right decision that he was looking forward to take, which impacts the conversion ratio that we guys were talking about. So I think everything comes into picture as long as we are very clear what is the problem that we are wanting to solve in whatever project that we are launching in whichever location, right? For every project, location is the key focus area.
True. Very true.
Correct. Like
True,
we say,
true.
entertainment. For real estate, it is location.
Definitely.
Right. So I feel as long as we are able to identify that problem that we want to solve, the story is set, and that is when experience, journey, everything comes into picture, and marketing is the most important element which is able to convey that story in the most efficient manner. That is when the consumer sees better traction and better conversion.
Okay, I think you guys have answered it very beautifully. And my next question is, around the same thing. It's regarding the buyer psychology. So as we have seen, many marketing frameworks we have studied are built around very high frequency purchases, whether it could be FMCG or e-com or even tech subscriptions. If you see where the buyer's buying cycle is pretty short, the risk is pretty low, and impulse play a very important role. But in real estate, it's completely different. A home is usually the largest asset in a person's lifetime. It is loaded with emotions, family aspirations, and even high financial risk, where the buyer journey can span anywhere between 2 months to 2 years. So my next question is, how does your fundamental marketing playbook change when you move away from the high frequency consumer selling into high ticket, high emotion real estate transactions? So how do you guys keep the momentum over such a long consideration cycle? Rajeeb, I think you can take
Yes.
lead on this one.
I think if you compare with FMCG, I worked with FMCG sector for some time. Today, the real estate is most dynamic category. As compared to any category, purely, every week we track what's happening with the marketing output and how many site walk-ins are happening, any improvements to be done. Is the micro market has changed because of a competition entering into the picture? Is the policies have changed that's impacting the entire economy of the economy of the country, and that's impacting the real estate business. So if you see, the variables are so many in terms of real estate category as compared to any other category. And that's why this category is very dynamic. I think as a marketer, we try to make sure that every week we have a target to be achieved in terms of not only booking numbers, but site walk-ins, leads, and other funnel. So that is where it is very dynamic as compared to FMCG. FMCG, you make a plan, it runs for a quarter. You just need to make sure that the plan is executed as per the plan. So there comes the clue that what we need to do as a real estate category. So that's where today, if you see, as compared to FMCG and the frequency building, here we do micro targeting. I think that's critical aspect for real estate, and that's where I think digital marketing is so critical for us, that we do proper purely micro targeting so that I get the right customer for the right project. That will make sense from the ROI point of view. So micro targeting is one aspect as compared to FMCG selling. The second aspect, if you see, on a ATL level, you have to do the top funnel as well and the middle funnel. You cannot jump directly to the bottom funnel. That's where we do outdoors and say maybe radio activity or a print activity that used to happen. Those all are being done, including the outdoor medium, as a micro market targeting. So all the aspect of ATL, including digital push that we do in the marketing funnel, is to do the micro targeting. That's first aspect. Second aspect that we do through the distribution game, and which is what I was explaining about channel partners, keeping in that micro market in the target of 10 kilometers, defining as per the project size and the life cycle of the project. The distribution is being done and making sure that the channel partners in that micro market are participating. So your route selection for the sourcing team, sales team, is being done in a way that you map the channel partner of the micro market so that 80% of sales, at least, that can be covered. The 20-30% that comes from outside the micro market can be done through digital marketing or to some extent by outdoor marketing. But the channel partner distribution of 80% has to be done through that micro marketing, 70 to 80%. The balance can be achieved through other medium. That's the third aspect that we do as a marketing. The other point is that today, I think most of the A-grade developers are getting into personalization of the communication and the offering also to an extent. So that personalization of the communication happens when the site visit happens. The first site visit, we as a team are able to collect some bit of data from the customer. The likes, what are the customer profiling, and also to an extent income level, and also what are the likes and dislikes for the customer. That gives a lot of input to the marketing team. Once you collect, because the site visit is done, the data is with you, and that's the first party data. it's the marketing team that creates the communication based on what is being captured. And if you have captured the right information, you have been able to create a right communication for the first time visitors who have come to you. In our language, we call it as VDNB, visits done but not booked. So the VDNB database becomes a major play for marketing where they do personalized communication, making sure that the targeting is being done properly with the need being mentioned by the customer getting filled by the communication strategy. So that is where the marketing plays a critical role on the VDNB database, and then churning the VDNB database to get more juice out of it, and then making sure that the revisit happens, and that the revisit gives you the results in terms of the booking number. So if you see the funnel wise, that is the difference between impulse purchase or FMCG and a high ticket buyers, that we are more focused on the micro targeting, making to the point that the personalization happens to the buyer who shows interest or comes to the site. Third, that data is being fed as a first party data and gets churned to the next level, making sure that you get them to the right project, right pricing, right configuration. So that's the funnel that we make as compared to other segments or other categories.
Your take on this?
Sorry, that was for me. Yeah, your voice faded out a bit.
Yes, CJ, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think like we were saying, like Rachit and Rajeeb were saying again, location, and then Rachit went entertainment. I think the keyword to repeat for creating a comparison or a differentiated approach from high frequency to emotional buy-ins is data. The more data you're collecting across your customer's journey, both offline, online, post-purchase, it's like a little bit of a child that's slowly growing, taking shape, becoming a functional member of society, and then being a responsible adult eventually. That's what we hope the child grows up to, right? He or she. Rajeeb has talked about a lot of the very important theoretical matters that we all practice to be able to get well-informed, qualified families to transact with our products, right? So there's no two ways about the approach on how you're trying to get these people. But how do you keep doing better is simply by paying attention to the data. But it starts with a more important practice is to try and find out the places and the moments of truth that you can collect data. That also comes from just keen observation and learning when you meet friends from the industry like we're doing right now, as to what's working for them in their customer journey. Can I also employ some of that learning within my customer journey? How is my customer journey different from maybe Rachit's or Rajeeb's? And trying to plot as many places in those interactions with the customer, which is whether it's real time, whether it is virtual, whether it is offline, and trying to collect that data to be able to say that, number one, am I saying the right things, or is my team saying the right things in all the communication we're putting out there? Number two, are we putting it out as frequently as we should? Number three, are we talking about different facets of the product to be able to give as much information to the customer? It's not really continuously selling to the customer, right? That's what you need to do as an evolved brand, as an evolved team, is to be able to give enough information to your customer through the various touch points and moments of truth to help them get convinced about the viability of your product in their life. That's what we're trying to do, right? And you do this only because you're observing how people interact with you, how often they interact with you, what time of the day they interact with you. Do they prefer calls? Do they prefer chats? Do they prefer meetings with you in person? Vis-a-vis what they're saying during those interactions, right? So old school, we used to call it FAQs. Everybody had a set of FAQs. Today, those FAQs are important prompts, if I may use that word very carefully, in terms of your customer, your sales pitch, your engagement pitch, that whether your pre-sales is doing it first or even before that, your website is doing it first, then your pre-sales is doing it, then your customer, then your opening, your sourcing manager, and then your closing manager is all involved in that journey. So what you say, how you say, when do you say, all backed by good, robust data is the key differentiator as to repetitive purchases in different industries, and how you market to those consumers versus how we are marketing. Last but not least, Rajeeb just touched upon it, but didn't. I don't think he really went into it as much. Buying space, whether it's a home, office, shop, right? I think maybe worldwide, but more so in India, is still a very emotional decision. Yes, it's a transaction. Everybody's measuring each rupee and each square feet. There's no two ways about it. Everybody's looking very closely at what's written in that agreement that you are making the customer sign, and what's happening in the home loan documentation, all of that stuff. So the practicality of the transaction, there's a lot of attention to that. That there's no two ways about it. But the fact that you help somebody own their space, whether it's the first transaction, second transaction that have, or repetitive transactions, it's a moment of pride, right? So you are appealing to the emotional animals in all, literally the emotional animals out there, looking to satisfy some urge. It could be pride, it could be stability, it could be safety, it could be stature, any number of these so-called emotions that we are appealing to, and telling them why your product, whether it is home, office, or shop, is the best product for them. So appealing to the emotion of the customer, I feel, is also very important, more so in real estate than maybe in other industries.
Perfect. I think
That's it.
I have hardly anything to add. Both the gentlemen have really covered the entire life cycle of a consumer at each touch point, which is basically helping us milk them and get the desired result or sell our particular product. But I would add one critical point, that while the gestation period for anybody to buy a real estate product, like you said, Manish, starts from 2 months to 2 years. And this is more of a product wherein a consumer really thinks through, and there is no impulsive buying. I would say a bit otherwise. I would say that it is actually also a function of what environment are you able to create at your site or your experience center, wherein sometimes you are able to create a FOMO in the mind of the consumer around an inventory that he's liking, because basis his requirement or his wife's requirement, or the view that he's looking at, the floor that he's talking about, the layout that he's talking about, the options keep reducing. And if you are playing a very good inventory game, and if you are able to create an environment at the site, sometimes or majority of the times, consumer also get into an impulse that maybe I am the one who's thinking a lot while others are buying. I should also give in and I should also buy. So as marketeers or as marketing and sales companies, this is also something which is of prime importance, in addition to both our experts that they spoke about, also plays a very critical role in bringing in velocity in business. Plus, in today's market, with the war going on and the stock market being very volatile, the gold prices being very volatile, everybody is looking at real estate as the place to park in their money. So gone are the days that a person is buying only one home in his lifetime. On an average, every 3 to 5 years, a person is ready to buy one more investment, depending upon his pocket. Whether he's buying a 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, that is different. But then every 3 to 5 years, the person is ready to make one more investment in real estate. So the times have really changed. And like Rajeeb was also talking about, that in FMCG or in BFSI, you set your rules for a quarter and then you monitor what is happening after a quarter. In our business, every week You need to figure out a strategy. Then you need to evaluate whether that worked for you or it didn't. And then what needs to be tweaked for the next week to become more productive.
Mm.
So this sector is a very dynamic sector because you're playing or you are working with the emotions of the consumer, in which, like I said, you can also create a scenario wherein people get involved in impulsive buying as well. It is again the story that you are telling and how amazing assets have you created for these people to get connected with your story. And if you play an inventory game with them, people get involved in impulsive buying as well, which is a recipe of huge or big launches or successful big launches that people are able to do. You've also read people selling a tower in a day or in 2 days or 3 days. So it is a function of all these things coming together.
Yeah.
I think in low ticket sales, you are driving a transaction, but when it comes to real estate, you are essentially nurturing a long-term relationship.
Correct.
So the focus shifts entirely from instant gratification to, a sustained trust.
True, very true. Very well said, Manish.
I think my next question is around, hyper localization versus, the global brand identity. So as we have seen, real estate in India is fiercely local. Consumer preferences changes drastically every 100 kilometers, if you see. What works for maybe an NRI builder in Dubai or a luxury buyer in, let's say, South Mumbai might completely fail or for an end user who's growing into a suburban corridor or a tier 2 city. Yet, as a major developer, you need your brand to, retain its prestige and core identity across all these markets. How do you maintain a single strong corporate brand identity while radically tailoring your messaging channels and product narrative to fit this hyper local consumer nuances? CJ, we can start with you on this.
Thank you. My favorite subject ever is brand. Uh, well, the answer is kind of simple and complex at the same time. I'm sorry, I'm sounding a little theoretical, but global brand identity vis-a-vis your hyper localized brand identity, your product story, let's call it that, right? What happens at the hyper local level is the product story, the tactical story for what you want to say, how you want to say it, and all of that stuff. See, it is you have to go back a few steps and say that first, what is the story that you want everybody to realize about your firm, about the products that you offer? It has to be backed by, let's say, data. It has to be backed by consumer research. It has to be backed and thorough consumer research. It's not like buying some white paper. You actually go out there with your team, meet people who don't buy with you, people who have bought with you, people who have bought in the past with you. You talk to your channel partner fraternity. You talk to your entire ecosystem of suppliers and vendors and consultants. And if you ever get the chance of stealing a meeting with architect Hafiz contractor and why he's working with your firm, for example, you meet everybody, right? It's an intense exercise to try and understand what people think about you. How do they feel about you? Even if they don't buy, why did they not buy? Why can't they buy right now? It is an intense exercise to understand all of that. It is one step better than doing the SWOT analysis on a product or a SWOT analysis on your brand. The good old strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat matrix that we've all done at some time. Once you've understood what is it that people think about you today, then it is what is it that you want them to feel when they work with you? What is it what you want them to think about when they hear your name or see your name on a billboard out on the roads or whatever it is, which is your communication strategy. And then you live, breathe that communication strategy across all touch points. It is not something that goes on some glossy coffee table book type brochure that you place at your corporate head office. It goes everywhere. When you're developing the communication strategy, the visual signature for what your brand should stand for, that needs to percolate everywhere. And if you've managed to do that, then there isn't a differentiation between what is your globally relevant brand story vis-a-vis what you're doing in the hyperlocalization. Now, let me take up a minute to explain that a little more. All of us are proponents of every medium of communication, right? So we are all using WhatsApp, we're using SMS, we used SMS emails, we used site branding, Flex, the works. I'm not going to go into the exhaustive list of all the communication mediums we use. However, the reason we use it and what we want to say in it based on where it is, how often it's going to be used, we have all the theories with us. So now when you're sitting a few months ago, when you were sitting on a communication strategy, would you break down your central brand story idea into these little relatable snack-sized portions that you can reuse across all of your touch points? It is a grueling exercise to sit down and break down the communication strategy to that kind of nano micro level. But if you do that thorough journey with your communication partners, your creative partners, your PR guys also involved, your performance partners, whoever that you can rope into the whole exercise, because all of them will have industry best practice to share with you, right? You sit down with them, you create this complex matrix of what, when, why, how are you going to say things that percolate from your brand story. Then there is really no challenge about how your brand looks on your corporate website, your coffee table book, versus how does your product look out on the road, in the micro market that you're selling to or transacting in. It's easier said than done, because as marketing functionaries, we understand the logic day in and day out, right? But the guy or the leader who's signing the check, right, may not be the person that is completely on board. So again, my earnest recommendation to anybody who's struggling with this is get the buy-in of the promoter right at the beginning, right at the time that you are fashioning your communication strategy, the what, why, how, when, where. If you got that done, the fact that there is a buy-in from all the key stakeholders, the communication strategy is accepted, then the other problem of running a brand story is deviation, right? That's why hyper localization becomes an issue. You don't have to deviate from the core thought of what your brand story is. It works at the product level as well. You just modify, whether it is the visual sometimes or whether it is the tonality of the language, to be able to fit into that snackable bite-sized delivery mechanism that you're trying to use. I think if you keep all of this in mind, then you really don't have a huge difference between what your brand is trying to tell people all the time, day in, day out, and what you're trying to communicate about your product at the hyper-local level. I so sincerely hope that makes sense.
Definitely. I think you have answered it very beautifully, CJ. Rachit, your take on this?
Yeah. Thank you, Manish. I would add some more pointers to what CJ spoke about. I would say that today, if we are talking about brand identity versus the hyper-local thing, I would say that consumer is not connecting with the brand because they are global. They connect because sometimes we are able to reflect their local aspiration. Eventually, if a consumer at any location is coming and indulging with a brand, the basic reason is that they feel that the brand is able to reflect their local aspirations. If as a marketeer, we are able to speak in their language, understand their priorities, and address their unique purchase motivations, that is where the consumer feels connected. And as a brand, I am not even compromising on my identity, because these people looked up to the brand, keeping in mind that, oh, I am able to associate with this brand. Because eventually, if anybody is buying a property of any brand, it is adding to their ego value. When you go and do this high value, high ticket purchase, irrespective of the location where you are, it is adding to your ego value in some way or the other because of the brand that you are participating in, which is eventually reflecting your aspiration. So as a brand, if you are able to connect them in their local language, I think majority of the task is done. And another thing that I would want to add is that the strongest brands are generally recognized everywhere because they are consistent. And that is why people love these brands, and they also give a feel of being local. When I say also give a feel of being local, I really mean to say that it is able to strike a chord with the consumer as far as his aspirations are concerned. So I think these are those two very important elements that a brand can play. Because suppose if a national brand is entering a new location, it is the standing for which that brand has become a national brand. And when it is making an entry, people have an aspiration to also have a product from that brand. If you are able to communicate in the local language, able to convey what the brand stands for, which CJ was talking about, in that small pack of communication that we want to give, I think our task is done as a marketer.
There also, sorry, before Rajeeb starts, I should have added, one of the, and I don't know if you have this issue, vernacular medium versus English.
Yeah. Everyone
The
has
debate
that.
of going
everywhere.
vernacular versus sticking to
Correct.
English, to whatever is your business language. That is also a popular debate that pops up once in a while. Sorry, Rajeeb. Sorry to steal your thunder, sir.
After the CJ's YouTube channel explanation, you can make many reels now. But in the way that he described the brand philosophy, I think you have now content for making 10 reels from his YouTube channel format. Okay, now coming back to the brand building, I think real estate is unique in the sense that, what you can expect from a brand or a strong brand. I think Rachit was talking about location, yeah, it's there. But today with the infrastructure push, somewhere that location is getting opened up. I think the many locations are coming to the front. So location may not be a major differentiator going forward. I think today, if you have to see, I think what customer will look for a new brand entering into a new market or a existing brand being there is the product and delivery. I think you cannot take away the delivery part from real estate. I think it's the commitment to the project and delivering as per the commitment and as per the specification. I mean, it is being committed to the customer. I think delivery is so critical. I think whatever said and done, today the big brands, they may be doing very well in other categories, but when it comes to real estate, they struggle. Purely from the point of view that they're not been able to deliver. But where they are the number one in other categories. But they have not been able to scale up in real estate because it's a different category where it's not the brand, but it's a delivery makes the differentiator, and it will be there for some time till it becomes fully branded as a category. That's one part. Second thing is that the product. Today, the Indian consumers are well traveled out, so they are looking beyond location. I think location with the infrastructure push, a lot of coastal road projects, infrastructure, road connection, accessibility. I think many locations are getting opened up. But today, product differentiation is becoming critical, where the customer is paying a premium to it and he's willing to pay that premium. If the product is a better product, whether there is a themed development like a wellness theme or something else that makes sense for the consumer, he is differentiating that product based on the product differentiator and paying a premium for it. And that premiumness adds to the brand value and the branding of the company. That's the second aspect. The third aspect today, consumer is not only left out with a big assurance being given from a brand, but what the customer looks is that whether that can be fulfilled. I think somewhere you have to bring in your communication as a brand that guarantees there. So we used to call in FMCG language warranty guarantee. The guarantee is bigger than warranty. But here, I think real estate, that guarantee as a communication platform, somewhere that assurance has to be there that we are on time. So that's why if you see a lot of communication that we do in between our marketing playbook is that, construction updates. What's happening to the project? Where we stand today as committed in terms of payment plans. That becomes differentiator. That may not be in the marketing playbook, but if you see from a secondary thought point of view, that is where every brand is doing that. But they may not be talking it or may not be putting it on a ATL platform. But when it comes to your first party data, that becomes a significant communication. You have an entire CRM team to communicate only this part to the customer so that there is a positive word of mouth and the referral happens. And that is the biggest driver as a source of booking. Today, the real estate, the biggest driver, if you have to see from a conversion point of view, is the reference. If it is referred by a customer, then the chances of conversion is the highest as compared to any medium, whether it's a digital, ATL, hoardings, radio, anything. And that is the significant part of real estate brand building, that how you build the brand as per the assurance and give the guarantee that it will be delivered on time as per the specification. I mean, it is defined. It's not only on time, but as per the specification, I mean, it has been defined. Third part is that keep on giving that assurance and making sure that the customer is along with you as you progress on the life cycle of the project. And that is where the referral and loyalty begins. And that is the biggest chunk. Today, the branded players in real estate are being measured by what is the percentage of your sales comes from referral and loyalty. I think that is the key part of entire brand building exercise for real estate, beyond product delivery, accessibility, and other things which are there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think if I summarize this, hyper local intuition is where promoter instinct really shines. And as even Rachit and CJ said, knowing this local sentiment and adapting the national brand story so it resonates on a street by street level. Yeah, I think we can quickly take one more question, or should we do we really go with the Q&A?
We have a couple of Q&A questions.
Okay,
I
think if
should we move to Q&A? If that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should move ahead with Q&A.
Yeah, surely if you can. 1 second. Surely, can you share the questions?
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just dropping it in the broadcast handle. This is coming from the attendees, so only I'm able to see it. Okay. So we have the first one from Sana. The question is, when you're selling something big like a home or financial product, how do you keep the customer engaged over a long journey without them losing interest or going to a competitor? It's a more generic one, but yeah, it's one of the audience.
I think Rajeeb had largely covered about this question. So I think why don't you only give a snippet of the same? Because you had very focusedly talked about the engagement strategy.
Yes, absolutely. I think it comes back in a whole life cycle of the project. You have to keep communicating where you stand in terms of what is the development happening at the site level, project level, what is the amenities being covered, milestones being done, and celebrating each phase of the milestone. I think that is the communication that you have to do beyond what you are doing as a marketing team in terms of packaging it. Like what you were talking about, your marketing collaterals, brochures, and everything. That keeps going to the prospects and the customers. But I think the critical aspect will be the progress of the project and engaging in a way that you are giving that assurance to the customer that what I committed, I'm delivering and I'm progressing as per my commitment. I think that's the best engagement tool we can have. And that can be done on a physical level also. It's not only the communication platform. You keep on doing events at the site where you call the prospects along with the customers, along with the channel partner. So you can have two different events where you have different events for channel partner, prospects, and customers. and showcase the project. And showcase the project, what you are doing, and showcase what it will be delivered and how it will be. I think engagement tools have been there in real estate, and a lot of A-grade developers are doing that. But the continuous communication with the progress report is the critical part that one can do.
I like to add. I like to add. From a definition perspective, it is also the journey of the customer, right? And I think Rachit and Rajeeb can also weigh in on this. It is a consumer for us usually starts the gestation period, the time it takes from, let's say, the first moment of truth to the time the transaction happens. I think on an average across industries might be anything from about 4 to about 8 weeks. If you're a velocity player, it will probably be lesser than 4 weeks also, but the more premium your product will be, the gestation period. Also there it is, how much of a financial incentive is the brand giving vis-a-vis how much are they holding on to the base square feet rate of the project. So losing a customer to the competition will happen in that period. So the gestation literally, I think, is about 8 weeks. There is a set of reasons that the customer came for the first site visit. If you understand why the customer came for the first site visit, I think 50% of your battle is done. Because even at that point, there is still a competing product out there. The customer will go and visit that. And apple to apple comparison, at that point, you're probably losing out to your competitor because of a price differential or an affordability differential.
Surely, do we have any other questions? Or
Yes, we have one very technical question. I'm just going to read it out and see if we can take it. Ad platforms like Meta and Google are getting more expensive. So what acquisition channel is actually working for real payback periods right now, beyond just throwing cash at paid ads? Anyone who thinks that they can take this, not a problem. We can have one liner each also.
See, I think the paid ads is there, and Meta, Google cost per leads are going up purely because people are now shifting to the AI search. The AEO search has increased. And I think everybody knows that the cost per lead in Meta and Google has gone up by 20-25%. And that's purely because people are searching on the AI platform. So one has to move where the consumer is or where the consumer is going. I think as a marketing philosophy, one has to follow the customer, and where they are available, you have to be there. I think that is where today you don't have to only depend on search or scrolling of Meta platforms. You need to make sure that you are being there in the AI platforms through AEO. So that's where I think consumer is there. And that becomes critical from a marketing point of view, is that because consumer is searching there. I think 30-40% of search is now started happening in AI search. So you need to be there both in SEO, GEO, and AEO. I think you cannot ignore anything currently. And if the cost is going up in the Google and Meta platform, then switch to something. Not switch completely, but you need to be available because consumer is there. So you need to have some bit of money pushed to the AI search, AEO, and some of the platforms like Reddit and classified zones like, you have a lot of Magic Breaks, 99 Acre, where you need to be there or seen along with your channel partner communicating and distributing through digital platform as well. So there are mechanisms going beyond Meta and Google.
Yeah. I would just add to what Rajeev was talking. The scenario of generation of lead has completely changed. Originally, people used to source through telecalling. There were databases, people used to do telecalling from which the leads used to get generated. Like Rajeev was talking about, not now everyone has got onto digital platforms. People are getting more informed. There are influencers who are promoting a product. Then you are getting onto Meta, you are getting onto Insta, you're getting onto Google, then all the various digital platforms. So definitely when the competition is increasing on these platforms, the cost per lead is definitely going to go up. Even channel partners are also propagating our products or any other product on those platforms only. And that's the reason the competition is going up, is the price anyways going up, but we don't have any other choice because that is where the consumer is. So it's about the digital marketeer being so efficient that he's able to take the call every single day, which campaign needs to get optimized, what needs to be done, so that he can work on, very accurate budgets, and is able to still get a better deal for you in terms of cost per lead, cost per acquisition. I think that's where it is. And I would also agree that uh, gone are the days wherein, you just put hoardings and they start sweating results for you. Today, hoardings is a market which is super cluttered. Anyone and everyone is putting up a hoarding, and nobody has time to look up and see. Everybody is glued to their phone. So digital is the medium where people have to be present and prevalent to be able to generate business for them. That's the hard fact of life.
Yeah, true. CJ, your view?
See, if you look at the history of the return on investment for marketing, right? Let's just call it that. Let's not go to digital and outdoor. I know Rajeeb will also probably concur with this. It used to be fabulously expensive to get a lead, right? Back in the day, before digital became such an important keyword for all us marketers. Nobody really looked at CPL back then. Nobody really looked at cost of acquisition back then. Not in the structured format, non-negotiable manner that we're looking at it right now, right? And I would like to maybe challenge somebody and say that if your CPL today is, say, 1,500 rupees today because of digital, pre-digital, what was it? Do you even have an idea what it was, right? The reason I'm asking this is also I come from a slightly different school of thought, and that is it's an ongoing debate internally, right? So what is the slightly different school of thought? I wouldn't mind placing an ad of any sort, any digital ad, WhatsApp, whatever it is, okay, and I get one sale from it. Because the cost of acquisition, the return that I see from that little initiative is much larger than trying to look at all of the CPLs and saying, at the end of the month, I've generated 300 qualified leads, I've generated 30 site visits, and I've got probably 3 bookings from it. Right? That for me, and this is again, like I said, it's an internal debate. It's the quality versus quantity game, right? It is trying to figure out where is your customer, what are they looking for, and are you providing for it? Yes, there are possible issues with costing today of particular platforms, and Rajeeb and Rachit both talked about it in depth. I'm just going on a little tangent. I'll be very, very frank and say that does all of your channels, right? If you get your head out of that whole CPA and cost of acquisition, between the communication, between the frequency of communication, are you doing as many of the right things as possible? Are you feeding results not just back into the algorithm, but back into the theory of what you're doing, right? The basic ideology of what you're doing. I think if you're looking at theoretical issues like that, you will see much richer rewards. I know it sounds very idealistic at this point of time, and it's probably meant for another conversation another time. But personally, I've said this, I think, on somebody else's interview a couple of years ago, I hate listening to the abbreviation CPL. I'm like, what does it really matter? But yes, I understand the scope of a project, the velocity you need to generate, the fact that you're selling it for 2-3 years, all of those economies of scale, yes, I understand all of it. So certain ecosystems work in a different way, and I can remove myself a little bit and look at the picture and say, where is the quality coming from rather than the quantity? Because at Ashar Group, one of the things that literally happens on the ground here within the micro markets that we operate is the brand is doing the heavy lifting. It's not the advertising. It's the reputation built over the last 25 years of consistently delivering projects ahead of deadlines that were stipulated, or today that we call as RERA possession dates, being able to deliver those projects to a larger number of people ahead of time. The brand is doing all the hard work. The brand has done enough hard work that the channel partners do the rest of the hard work for us. So the advertising is just a support. So I have the luxury of sitting back and saying, where is the quality coming from rather than the quantity. That's why I said I have a slightly different point of view.
Thank you.
I think for a marketer, one line, what CJ was talking about, besides he pitched in Ashar group also, one line is that you need to be there where consumer is there. I think that is where the marketing playbook is. If the consumer is shifting to whatever platform, you need to be visible and you need to make sure that your brand and projects are being visible.
Perfect. I think we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. And if there's just one key takeaway from today's discussion, it's that data science doesn't replace the promoter instinct, it sharpens it. Also, as CJ mentioned, data gives you the what, but human intuitions gives us the why. So when real estate leaders, blend both of it, that's where sustainable high-value brands are built. I think a massive thank you to all the incredible panelists, Rachit, Rajeeb, CJ. Thank you so much for being so candid and generous with your playbooks today. Also, to our audiences, of marketing leaders, thank you so much for tuning in, bringing your energy to this session. We hope that you walk away with insights that you can directly apply to your next project launch. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of the day. And
Thank you, Manish, for having us. And I think it was indeed a great interaction, getting to learn from all the experts out here and also being able to put across my points.
Yeah. Thank you to Manish and team for putting this together.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you, Rajit and Rajeeb. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Pleasure meeting
Thanks,
you,
Manish. Thanks.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
have a
Rachit.
great rest of the day, and we'll see you.
Bye, CJ. I'll see you. Bye.
Good luck.